Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Athletic School podcast. Today's guest is someone who perfectly embodies the resilience, passion, and purpose. Born in Estonia and now making waves literally here in the US, Merle Liivand is a professional swimmer, Guinness World Record holder, and advocate for oceans. Her journey goes beyond sports. It's about overcoming challenges, breaking records, and using her platform to create positive change. Merle's story as an international athlete and environmentalist will inspire anyone who's chasing dreams far from home while staying true to their values. So I resonate a lot with this. So thanks so much for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. So, um, you achieved so many incredible things in and out of the water, right? But let's go back to the beginning where everything started. Um, when did you start swimming? Why did you start swimming back home in Estonia?
Well, I grew up, or let's put it this way, the day when I was born, there was already indication that I have autoimmune disease and something is wrong with my lungs and with my digestive system. And I was in and out of hospital all my little childhood life. There were days when I was in a hospital watching the ceiling and telling that I'm a burden for my family and for this world, and there's something wrong and no doctor can figure out what is wrong except maybe my health is affected because of pollution. And I, we really didn't know what was going on with me, and constantly I couldn't breathe. Asthma was constantly, you know, around me because I needed like a medicine, but we didn't know what medicine because I couldn't adopt also the medicine. Something was rejecting back. And at the age of 11, my family doctor, like from nowhere, said, go and try swimming. I mean, you have done swimming lessons a little bit here and there, but like go and try swimming to learn to ventilate your lungs. And my lung situation was so critical that time that literally we're looking into if I need some kind of tubes inside my breathing pattern. And I went swimming at the age of 11, and because I little bit knew how to float and how to, blow some bubbles and cannonball, so I was really quickly basically learning to swim across the pool. And my coach also, like, when she saw me with my mom, she kind of was also inviting me. And when the whole story with the family doctor and coach calling my mom and saying like she's gonna be a breaststroker, because I was walking like breaststroker, it was no brainer to go to practice. And the first day, I remember my mom was so nervous how I'm gonna handle everything with my lungs. And she said, we decided with the coach, we're trying to 2 to 3 times per week swimming. And I think I was happiest girl ever. That was like a first time also where I felt like I'm needed. Like I have something in this world, that I'm not just in a hospital and all the doctors, I'm taking my parents' time. I'm taking everybody's time to be alive. But I felt like I have a purpose. I have something to live up to this world. And I went swimming, and in a year I, you know became like the last person to make to Estonian national finalists. Barely knew anything about turns and butterfly and backstroke. Forget that, breaststrokers never swim backstroke, right? And I went to the finals, and of course, my autoimmune disease kicked in, and I had a fever. And on my last event, on a last lane line, I just crushed everybody, and I got bronze with fever 101 Fahrenheit. And people were like, "What? Like, where did she come from?" And I was like so happy, like I received a mug and it had a price tag still on it. But I was so happy, and I was like, I guess in the water, I don't have to explain myself and my situation also, to doctor or another teacher why I'm missing school because I'm in a hospital bed. I feel like I don't need to explain anything to anybody, and yeah, I got the spark from there, and I was like, I wanted to swim and make my coach and my parents happy, and I wanted to I really wanted to figure out what is swimming sport, and that just led me to fall in love. And I have to say thank you to my coach because it wasn't easy for her at the beginning either because my life threatening health situations.
Hmm. That's beautiful. And one of the things that I always try to talk to people about here, it's about purpose and having meaning in our life, um, besides sports. But it's so cool to see that you were able to find meaning in sports, right? Because a lot of the people listening to us, they go to college, they play sports, but they forget to have like a purpose and a meaning. And you're able to actually connect them both, and that's perfect. I think that's every time we can do that, we should take advantage of that as much as possible. Um, and then you came to the US. And I want to know how you came to the US. But one important thing for us, I'm an international student as well, and a lot of people that are listening to us are international students. So I want to know how challenging that was. I don't know if you came by yourself, if you came with your family, but what were some of the challenges you faced, and how did you do to adapt to a different culture and a different language, everything?
Yeah, it wasn't easy because I didn't want to come to States, and my mom kind of gave me the flight ticket and suitcase and said, "Go and start the studies and start training with the team and figure out because you don't fit to the small pool." That's what she said to me, and in some way it makes sense now, right? Because I swim in the ocean. But when I came, it was really hard because I landed in Florida, and not necessarily English was the first language around the team, and also international, and the first, I would say, months was hard on the sense that I was a little bit first month I didn't speak with anybody.
Hmm.
Literally, I wanted everybody to fall in love with my soul and with my purpose. Like I knew at that time I'm not perfect on a paper as an athlete, but I have a willpower to train hard and work hard, and second of all, clearly some people have recognized my eyes looking like ocean blue, so I never wanted to take that my look or something that I come from some other side of the world is a number one thing in people's mind. So I wanted to work hard, and when I heard Spanish and I start picking up Spanish and a little bit Portuguese, and I got this first month on so curious, not just learning English and becoming better on my English, but I wanted to understand Spanish because I was like, what are they saying behind my back? Right? Um, because if you know the language, you know how to even play the game during the sets, during the workouts, right? And you know who wants to go when and who is doing who's a backstroke, because you don't know. You start training with the team and you don't know each other's talents. So and sometimes you start being maybe shy and you're like, no, you go, but actually you have the power to hold the same tempo. And I was like so curious about learning Spanish, and same time I was struggling a lot with the kind of like a fatigue and brain fog, because the nutrition was different. And that time I didn't know I'm celiac, that I'm allergic. I could not tolerate foods the same way as normal people could. And that goes back to my autoimmune disease, right? And it was hard because I knew it. I'm smart enough to adopt, but I had to deal with also, fatigue and brain fog and figuring out nutrition, figuring out opening a bank account.
Hmm.
Nobody like really help you. They help you, but like halfway.
Yeah.
And of course, coming from Estonia, you're like such a like protector of yourself that that's another reason why I didn't speak with anybody. I was like, I wanted them to love me and my spirit, right? Not just like, oh, she's from Europe or something, right? So the adoption was really hard, and making coaches aware and understanding that yes, I went to junior world championships and I swam next to that girl who's on your team, but on a training process, I might need a little bit more understanding because of my health issues. And it literally took a long time until I had to change one coach to another while I figured out how to handle practices. Because US, you're gonna hit the hard practices. The rhythm is different. You are achieving one of the and training one of the best teams in the world. But to adopt with the issues what you already have with the health level, that was really really hard. And not to mention that, you know, some days I wanted to wake up and say good morning in Estonian language to somebody, but I didn't see any Estonian. I mean, I was here for 2 years and then I found first Estonian. So it was a question constantly if I'm doing the right thing. But something inside me was like, hey, you got so far, you deserved it. You deserve to be here. You are giving actual maybe your talent to America, and don't give up.
Yeah, it's fun you say that because I'm from Brazil and there's many Brazilians here. And when I first came, there was many Brazilians at my school, and I still felt alone most of the time.
Mhm.
I cannot even imagine waking up by myself and not even being able to say good morning in Portuguese. That, and I mean, I'm just very glad that nowadays, we are in a world that everything is a little bit connected. So it does make things a little bit easier. And I think looking at your story makes us realize how fortunate we are. And yeah, I just awesome. And then after that, you start swimming long distance with a monofin to raise awareness, and that takes a different kind of mental toughness. How do you prepare mentally for those challenges? And also tell me why. You talk a little bit about the purpose, but why to do that? Why to raise awareness for those things, and how did you prepare yourself mentally?
Yeah, the funniest thing is when I came here, I was a breaststroker and I won Florida Winter Champs in 50 breaststroke and 200 breaststroke. But then I jumped to the open water because I saw that the Estonian team doesn't have a long distance girls, and I wanted to like inspire them that there is opportunities. And honestly, the whole mermaid thing came around because of my own body issues with the gluten and food tolerance. That, you know, your body changes when you come to America, the nutrition, and but also that we should not tell the girls to stop swimming. We should tell the girls, like, let's figure out, you have a body for swimming, let's figure out and love our curves more. And the mermaid has curves, right? And shark has a curves, and they swim freaking fast. So I started the whole mermaid school kind of to get girls to sport. That was my whole idea. And I had such a fortunate moment that I met Usain Bolt, and somehow he heard from his people that I swim 10K with the mermaid fin. And I was like, nice to meet you, but no. And I explained I went to Rio Olympic trials in 10K, but I have a mermaid school and it's kicking off around the world. And he said, but why don't you? And I was like, you're using bold, you know, but at the same time, you seen a challenge or you seen my talent, right? So he was like, you should, and you should swim around Jamaica. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out. 5 months later, after that call out from him, I went to Los Angeles Olympic trial test event for open water swimmers. The whole 10K world best swimmers were invited there. And I was like, if we testing out Los Angeles Olympic waters, let me make a mark. And I got Guinness Book of World Records involved. I had amazing World Open Water Association and helping me. And I told them basically in the morning that yes, I signed up for 10K monofin swimming, but I'm gonna do without the arms because animals are getting stuck on plastic and fishing nets. And we as an open water swimmer should not only take, we need to raise awareness. We really need to make a mark because otherwise we're not going to have open water sport left. And everybody were confused and they were like, we have never seen somebody kicking butterfly more than 2 kilometers in a practice set. So I don't know how you're going to do that in open water with all the currents and cold and all that. I said, don't worry, just watch it and decide later. And that's how I broke my first Guinness World Record. And COVID came, and I was like, I need to keep going because the the masks were already now, on our training spots in the water. I was like, we having a new pandemic. It's called blasphemia. So I started breaking every 11 months, basically another world record, like from 10 to 20, then to 30, and then I jumped to 42. Because my friend was telling Owen Wilson, like she's breaking all these world records, and Owen Wilson, the Hollywood actor, was like, she's like he was so invested why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I was like, I'm going 42 kilometers, like a marathon. Why not? Right. And my friends are like, why did you stop? Why you didn't do more? So I did after that 50 kilometers. And actually, I can tell you, I haven't stopped yet. I actually planning something more. But the mental part is really challenging because you go against the currents. And I had once 27 knots of wind against me that the SWAT team thought they gonna pull me out. And my whole team told the SWAT team that if you pulling her out, she gonna be way mad and she might come back tomorrow and swim double. And the SWAT team just couldn't believe it how I was going against those waves without taking any stroke, just kicking and kicking and boats colliding and storm and blah, like basically people like we gonna hate you, Merle, because you're making us to be here. And I said, you guys can go home. I'm swimming.
Yeah.
And then I finished, and Miami Beach mayor was proclaimed that was my birthday too. Proclaim my birthday as my day now in Miami. And if you think about growing up as an athlete in Estonia, you could not even dream better than that. And it is literally because I go, I guess, against those currents because I feel the pain of animals and their health because I went through that all my life. That not believing in you, you're suffocating. Nobody understands that things are wrong, but it's not you. You had the willpower. It's just some things in your health are causing that. And honestly, I have had last 10 years one message in my mind, and that's that the athletic world will be affected because of microplastic on athletes' human gut health. And
Mhm.
that just keeps me going.
Yeah, I mean, a few things. First, I don't think people understand how long 50 kilometer is just to walk, to run 50 kilometers, but then swim like that, I don't think people will ever
Yeah,
understand,
it
right?
was 14 hours just to people to understand.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, I feel like the world record, it's little, you know what I mean? Because like, oh my gosh, how is that even possible? How can a human be doing that? So it is impressive. It is impressive, and I think whenever we have a strong will like you do, make things almost easier in order to to achieve those things. But I think my question is, have you ever thought about giving up? And if so, what kept you going? Because I feel like if you decide to, like, okay, I'm done, I'm tired, nobody's gonna say anything to you because you already broke the record. The record is already yours. You know what I mean? So it is a mental battle with yourself, which
Mhm.
I think a lot of the times it's even harder. You know, like you don't have to prove yourself to other people. Like in soccer, for example, I played soccer. Well, we have to beat that team, and once we beat that team, that's it. You know, but when you have to be yourself, that's when things get a little harder. So, was there a moment that you thought about giving up? About, okay, I'm tired. This is not today is not the day, or how did you do it?
Yeah, no, definitely. There are so many things what going wrong constantly. And you swim and you get stung by jellyfish, and I'm allergic to jellyfish, and that's also because my autoimmune system adopts things weaker, and it's harder for me. Or, um, let me be honest, I'm a female athlete. I had to swim on a worst period day once a record, and you overcoming constantly that because in the end of the day, that's what we do every day practice. The days when we feel the worst is the days where we have to target the situation. And that's something what I would say my mom said that sometimes things can go so wrong and you feel wrong, but if you learn to use different tools, like, calming your mind down or entertaining yourself with the song,
Mm.
thinking about the words of the song, or remembering more those times when you proved everybody else that you were able to do stuff. Because, you know, our mind is actually the strongest muscle, on a sense, how we can put the other muscles to work. If we think bad, it doesn't matter if you had the best day on a gym, you might not perform. So learning every day practice to prove the world that actually I will figure out. I will use the other tool instead of that tool. Like, is it breathing? Is it eating every 30 minutes coconut oil so you don't get the salt on your tongue causing a damage? You play in kind of like a game there, and it's all about how you win the game. And honestly, for 14 hours, you just have to be so present on the zone. And to do 14 hours, it's hard. It's easier to do something for 2 hours, right? But at the same time, don't forget that every day when you went to practice and your coach maybe said you had a bad practice or you're a bad athlete, those were actually the days when you were made because you showed up the next day again.
Mhm.
And I think we forget that so often because we as athletes, we want to please everybody. We want to outperform everybody. But that comes showing up every day to a practice. You missed millions of birthdays for that reason because you showed up when everybody else were following the same path of the life. And honestly, I love those moments the most. I learned that while chasing a shark in Miami because as a female, entrepreneur and, being out there a public persona or always criticized that, oh, she's just the blue eyes, blonde hair girl. I have to take lots of those hits and learn that I actually have more courage than the people who told me stuff. And the shark taught me because the shark looked at me and was not scared of me.
Mhm.
And that means I should not be scared of anybody else. And I'm
Cool.
not scared of myself either this time. But it is the days when things are bad, go out there and challenge your talent. Those are the days when you actually winning.
Love that message. And I mean, something that we talked a little bit about is, having something outside the sport.
Mhm.
Um, because like I said, a lot of the people are listening to us are, student athletes that sometimes they're trying to go professional, sometimes they're just trying to go through college. Um, in your opinion, how important it is for athletes today to have something bigger than just the sport that they have?
It is so important. Let me be honest that we all are stakeholders. We are all stakeholders in sport. We all are stakeholders in entertainment because sport is entertainment. And we are all stakeholders on community. We can inspire the community. We are stakeholders of the planet because we are actually have a right to breathe, to eat, right? And then we enjoy our sport. When you have stuff outside of your sport and you showing up for your community, you actually building your own sport. Um, Honestly, the Olympics could not exist without athletes, but every athlete background is different. And if you think about in soccer, I have had pleasure to meet Kaká, Ronaldinho. They all came from really poor areas, but they had somebody who showed up in their village and inspired them. So even if you're not Olympic winner or Guinness World Record holder, go take time off a little bit from sport and give back 1% more than you received because you're part of the system what builds your community, the safety even. Like sport, why is sport? Sport is to make sure our communities are safe, that kids are, instead of going doing the wrong path and doing bad stuff, they come into sport and kind of burst their energy towards the sport and emotions, right? And that's why it's so important to go and give back because it's the vibration. And we all know, like, wow, the like in soccer, the ball landed on a goal. But it's a vibration that the ball could shift to the left or shift to the right. You are studying the physics, right? The same is giving back. You vibrating higher, and that inspires more you, your surroundings, your sponsors, your parents, your community, and that's why I think it's important, especially student athletes. You have when the NCAA or your season ends, that doesn't mean now you have to go and party. Figure out how to like go and like delegate some time to give back because you might learn that the guy next to you is going to be your next business partner.
Mhm.
The third person who's involved with that might find you, as his next sponsor. Just go out there and put your talent to the right path and give back. And that's how you're gonna vibrant through your career. I'm so lucky having all these Guinness World Records because I inspired on my ways so many people on a community. And honestly, we all need to do that. Athlete, coaches, organizations, we all need that because we want to walk on the streets and feel happy and safe, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and at the moment, I work for FC Cincinnati, and I work in the community relations department. And a lot of the things that we do there, it's just literally just giving back to the community. Um, and I mean, of course, maybe when the team decides to do that, maybe it's a marketing point or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, for me, that I'm there teaching the kids how to play soccer for
Mm-hmm.
free. I think it gives us a sense of purpose and meaning in our lives, and I feel good that like I was able to learn soccer and all of that, and now I can pass that along so the kids can go and have a good time, and maybe they can go to school and pay for college because they learned soccer when they were, I don't know, 5 7 years old, and I was able to introduce them to the sport, and I think um winning is very good, right? The process, we love the process of training and all of that. But at the end of the day, when we're able to do those things, like you mentioned, in giving back to someone, that's when we truly feel the joy and the fulfillment. So yeah, I love what you said, and I think it's important for us to understand that before athletes are also human beings, right? We're part of a society, like you said, and we have to just give it back to other people. Um,
And that's how you build a relationship, because life is all about relationships. And honestly, uh, being you play team sports, swimming is being individual. No, we all breathe the same ocean, same air, and when we learn to lean on and like you said, you're going to teach soccer for free. It could be the next Kaká, next
mhm,
Ronaldinho. Like, just go and do it. Like, sometimes it's not the question always about money, it's about building something bigger and discovering talent on this magical world.
mhm. Yeah. And now I want to talk about something that you mentioned a little earlier. You said being a female, blue eyes, being blonde, and like having that stereotype. And the thing for me that I've been trying to reflect a little bit on it, especially here in the US, where everything's a little bit kind of political correct, um, is to find that balance where being an international student, being an immigrant, um, it's a disadvantage or an advantage, right? And I think there's there's both ways, and I think it's always about the way that we look at things. Um, and I want to know from you, like coming from another country, not being able to speak the language, having the immunity disease, you can eat this food, you can eat that food, and then you get stung by a jellyfish while you're doing your sport, and you came here to do that. But coming from a different background, do you see that as an advantage? Do you see as a disadvantage? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I kind of love that you asked that question, because the truth is that America, it is built from immigrants, and what makes America the number, the world stage, is that we come with different background of cultures, and we bring in that talent here, and if we help that to grow, we actually make America better. And also, I have had so many meetings where I sit down, and the person is like, my great grandmother was from Lithuania. I got my first company thanks to that. You know, um, because we are here to vibrate and maybe even teach Americans, but also it goes vice versa. Americans are teaching for us
Mhm,
amazing things, and how to um, adopt and implement our talent. And I just have to say that don't be shy that you are from other country, because it could be that something, what for investor or sponsor or coach or organization leader has a tied into with your culture.
mhm,
Like, for example, when I came here, I don't think everybody knew Estonia created Skype.
mhm,
And honestly, when we think about COVID, um, I mean, Estonians created Skype and technology, and they sold that to Microsoft for many $billion. And then Skype wasn't doing maybe that well, but the technology and the idea how we can connect the world was from Estonians. And I have to say, sometimes I'm on a big event with world leaders, and so often people run across the room and they want to come and tell me that they know something about Estonia.
mhm,
That's my business card, basically.
mhm,
So your culture, your community where you come, or maybe you come from a city, small city, where this person who's front of you went and did charity work, went to help the kids, went to help the homeless, did something with the church. That is your amazing connection with this country.
mhm,
Like, when you come here, give back, but also don't shy away of learning how we can help and vibrate higher, because America is, in my opinion, is amazing on that way that we can learn about each other's cultures way more than in History Channel. Like, when I came and I had to struggle through Spanish and Portugal, and some people look at me stereotype, I had to learn about their cultures. It wasn't like I'm gonna be mad rest of the life with them that they see me that way. It was me getting challenged to learn about their cultures, and you're from Brazil, Osclen, one of the most famous brand from Brazil. Actually, he's half Estonian, and he's my best friend.
Nice.
Like I went to Brazil, did amazing things last year for 24-hour ocean swim. I spoke with the president, I spoke with the mayors of Rio de Janeiro, because we do have that connection, what I learned thanks to that time.
Mhm.
And don't shy away of bringing the best out of you. And that is your background.
Yeah.
You're made for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times I think it's only going to be a problem for us if we see as a problem, right? But a
Mhm.
lot of the times it can be an advantage for us.
Yeah.
And I mean, is there any other advice that you can think for, a lot of international students are coming here, and I feel like every single year it's just more and more international students coming here. Um, what are some advice that you can give to these students chasing their dreams? Here in the US, being away from home, you mentioned don't be shy, but is there anything else that you can think of that maybe you did it back then, or something that you learned along the way that you can share with these international students?
Yeah, when you come in here, um, of course you're part of the system, and be respectful. This is how America works, and this is university or coaches work like that. And don't be, like I said, shy to share your knowledge with them, but also take something and look something what you can take it from America and bring back to your country. When I started with this San Francisco company called Finis, this is American knowledge. What I'm now selling in my region in Europe, and I own a company called Finis Nordic, and we are number one swimming equipment provider in our region. It's because I learned from Americans. I
Mhm.
help American company to come and establish in my region, and vice versa. US, would love to sell their knowledge to your culture too. So don't, like I said, be curious. Don't be against things,
Mhm. Yeah,
right? I always say I think it's so important to teach here that, like, our mind is like light bulb shift, right? You receive the bad energy and you can go thinking dark or you're thinking positive. It is your job to do the work, and I prefer you thinking positive.
yeah, 100%. I love that. To wrap it up, I always ask a question to all the guest speakers. What's one thing you would share with the entire world? Let's say your message is gonna get to every single person in this world. What would that message be?
So often we measure love or success or happiness with things, but the fact that nature, has ocean, nature has trees, that means if you are willing to open your heart, the love flows to your heart. And sometimes we feel like, oh, we don't have, especially we feel alone, or we feel somebody betrayed us, or somebody lied to us, or somebody cheated us. That's not the end of the world. That's actually beginning of you to find happiness, that it is out there. You just have to open your heart and it will flow to you. And again, things can be hard, but it's all about how do you target the situation and grow a muscle same time.
Mhm.
Because pain is temporary. Growing a muscle is forever.
I love that. And I always say this because I I always ask this question to every guest speaker, and everyone has a different message, and is just unique, and it works for everyone. So
Right.
I love that. I think I talk a lot about being open minded, um, but I think opening our hearts, it just gives a different perspective, because I think sometimes we look at love as relationship or the love that we have for a mom, but actually love is just so much bigger and deeper than what we see, what we think of. So I love that.
If I could share quickly a little moment here, is that I was yesterday, we have Formula One here in Miami, and yesterday I was invited with Red Bull racing team, and they opened this spot. And the funny thing is that they all night were telling me about manatee on their backyard who they saw in the morning. That was, everybody has to focus on Formula One, but they want to tell me what the manatee was doing in the morning on their backyard.
Mhm.
That is love.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. So who's gonna win the Formula One this weekend?
Red Bull?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No, honestly, I grew up watching that, and my favorite was Boricello from Brazil
Yeah.
back in the days. And then of course the Finnish guys, Kimi Raikkonen
Mhm.
and those guys, the Iceman and Valtteri Bottas and all those guys. But
Yeah.
now I barely know who's driving,
Yeah.
because there is so much young talent who are over the moon. And honestly, little secret here, I have had Formula One guys learning swimming from me. It is needed because their reaction muscles
Mhm.
need to learn how to have balance. So it's interesting.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very interesting. Uh well, thank you so much for taking the time. I love the message. Love your story, how you got here today and how you kept inspiring people. And like I said, that sense of purpose and meaning, it's just huge. And I want people to uh hear from someone like you, and go look for something that's more meaningful than only the sport that they're playing. It's not only about scoring goals or making touchdowns. It's about something else. And I think once we can connect them both, we can just impact way more people, literally just like you're doing. So I really appreciate that. Where can people find you on social media, and how they can connect with you?
Well, they can always Google a mermaid who swam a world record, and then all my LinkedIn and Instagram comes out. And I'm pretty active on Instagram, and these days I love LinkedIn because running a business, it's one of the best place to be.
Yeah.
And just reach out to me. I mean, another day, Associated Press journalist reached out to me because she wanted just to swim. So
Hmm.
why not?
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, and keep shining for Athlete School.